I was watching I wasn't watching anything. It was more someone responding to me, and they talked about, yeah, the cultural shift, but also how even though maybe publicly a lot of folks that are within the Hollywood elites or the entertainment elites or the people that are seen that's the coastal elites, that are among different genres or industries, be it art and entertainment, more so specifically, and how they're starting to feel the heat, or rather the water rise, right? See, when these problems exist in a lot of your own communities, they sound so detached from that because they are. So when they comment on something that just seems so tone deaf to the regular person, and whether it be with violence and whether it be with certain cultural issues that they advocate, anti-gun and all of that shit, that sounds very, very nice until the problem lands on their doorstep. And then you got to really pay attention to what it is that they're doing. Not the words, not what they spam on Twitter. No, no, no. What they actually do. You remember we covered a story out in the other coast. It was the East Coast. And you had some of these coastal elites that were paying all of this money to have these sort of protections because of the George Floyd, or the post George Floyd summer of love in 2020 was kind of getting the fuck out of hand. Right. And they started to say, okay, yeah, we don't want to deal with this shit. We want to make sure we're taken care of. And yeah, they will advocate that you be, or rather it be nearly impossible for you to, let's say, own a gun to protect yourself. Meanwhile, they make sure they have all the protection they need, and make sure and if they can't themselves jump through all the hoops to own, they'll pay someone else lots of money who has jumped through all the hoops that you can't possibly afford to protect themselves. So they're going to be fine. Here's another example of this. Now, you heard this tragic story that happened out of Beverly Hills. I don't remember if this article covered by the New York Post actually covers it. But you're seeing that there was a story where this guy's, I think it was in Beverly Hills, wife they were being robbed, and the wife died, was shot and killed, if I'm not mistaken. I've always been anti-gun, says Debbie Misery of Beverly Hills, but I am right now in the process of getting myself shooting lessons because I now understand that there may be a need for me to know how to defend myself and my family. We're living in fear. I wonder why that could be, right? It couldn't be because you live in a shithole and you're starting to realize that, or rather the shit, you're up here, right? So as the shit is rising, right, those people at the bottom are feeling the bulk of it. It hadn't got to you yet, so all is good. But now the shit is getting to levels that shouldn't even be fucking possible, and it's starting to be at your feet. So now you start to realize, wait a minute. They coming for me? Oh, no. I can't have that. And it's sad that has to be the case before people realize the importance of this shit. During the Black Lives Matter protest last year, Misery told the Post her neighbor's home was firebombed with Molotov cocktails. You live in a shithole. Imagine being in the nice area. And this is where the coastal elites, it's so hilarious that they live in like the New York cities, the LAs, and they think that they live in the upper echelon of what Americanism is about, right? So they think that they are in the best place that they could possibly be, spending all of this goddamn money to live in a place where they getting Molotov cocktails tossed into their fucking neighborhoods. And they live in a nice area. See, I live in a nice area. We're not going to have to deal with that problem, right? But let them, if you talk to a regular coastal elite, they think fucking we live in a shithole in Texas. Detached from reality. I talk about this with Alabama. If you've been in pockets of Alabama, for you guys that have actually been in Alabama, pockets of Alabama are not pockets, like really, it could be a very beautiful area, right? Very beautiful. Talk to a coastal elite about Alabama. They don't know any better. My kids were outside and they saw a huge explosion. The neighbors' backyards went up in smoke, trees burned down. Misery is a 40-something Mother of two teenagers, isn't alone. Ever since the protests last year descended into riots and lootings, a growing number of Beverly Hills residents have been buying weapons. It's gotten to the point to where residents feel insecure even going from their door to their car. Again, you live in a shithole. I'm just being like honest. A lot of residents are applying for concealed carry permits. They shouldn't have to do that. I mean, that's what you should be attacking. The fact that, okay, hey, you realize there's a threat here and you can't even go get yourself a gun because you have a bunch of hoops that you have to jump through in order to own a weapon. Concealed carry permits are fucking bullshit. And I say this as a guy that ended up getting one, but this was before Texas had its recent law change. But being able to carry, all that means is that the government, in the event that they catch you with it, won't criminalize you, which is fucking stupid. Because if you are carrying concealed and you don't have this stupid fucking license, then yeah, you're gonna fucking go to jail. According to the LA County Sheriff Alejandro Villanueva, the department has received 8,105 concealed carry permit weapon applications and approved 2,000 of them since he took office in 2018, compared to his predecessor having issued 194 permits in a year. That is in 4 years. So perspective, basically, since 2018, they have received and approved. No, they have received 8,100 carry weapon permit applications from for 4 years. Well, actually, it hasn't been 4 since December 2018, right? It hasn't been 4 years at all, closer to 3. And his predecessor only got 194. That's a hell of a jump right there, huh? It's almost like people starting to realize it was a goddamn problem. Even hardcore leftist Democrats who said to me in the past, "I'll never own a gun," are calling me asking about firearms, said Joel Glucksman, a private security executive. I'd say there has been an increase of 80% in the number of requests I'm getting this year. That trend, so they do talk about it. They do talk about it right here. This is the story. It's a tragic story right here. The trend increased last week, Glucksman said, after a beloved black philanthropist, Jacqueline Avant, was killed in her home. That was a story that I was referring to at the beginning of this segment. The killing of Avant shows that even having a security guard isn't enough to deter someone. The victim and her husband, legendary music executive Clarence Avant, had a private security guard on duty when she was killed around 2:30 a.m. This is in Beverly Hills. So what happens is, or what has happened, is that people in this area are realizing that the crimes have went to their, got closer to home. Let's say that. Okay? It's got closer to home. So now people that were once, okay, I don't want you to own, and that's just a matter of perspective. That's all that is what we're talking about now, is a matter of perspective. It is people that were detached from reality and the experience because, well, they were safe. Now they're not, or not as safe as they thought they were. And now they're starting to come to the realization that so many of us who had grown up in it and had to experience these areas we're already having to deal with. We just couldn't pay armed security to try to do something about it, or rather prevent it from happening. And we lived in the areas where they generally couldn't touch. Now you're untouchable. And mortality that vulnerability starts to set in. Now, I hate, and I think this is more of what we should talk about, why these people are like that. Why does it have to take you experiencing something near a tragic situation for you to wake up and realize that you are advocating not only anti-liberty positions, but really they're self-destructive? Okay? Because you saw this, what's happening, right? All these people who were anti-gun, wanted all these laws to exist, they live in these areas and they're realizing, look, in certain areas, now granted, it's going to differ. You know, you could go and you can, but when they do your little background check, which again, it's bullshit. I want to make it clear. You could go, for example, you can go in a store. A guy can, because it's random, right? A guy can walk into a store. Two people can walk into the gun shop. One may have to wait a few days, and this is even in Texas, before he can go pick the gun up. And another guy that walked in, similar background, can walk out with the gun. I saw that happen to me the other day. It can happen. But when you live in areas like California, there's a waiting list, right? So you have to sit there and wait forever to even potentially get approved to get the weapon, let alone to be able to carry it around, right? And I ain't even got to the magazine capacities and other bullshit that you have to deal with in these areas. You start to realize how much those laws are. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I got to wait? Wait a minute. I have to wait? Yeah. These are the policies that you advocate. What you forgot. What you thought that because you were the special one, when you tried to apply, you were going to be in a better. No. That's not how this shit works. So I think, if anything, if you are one of those anti-gun ownership guys, this is something that you need to realize. In that, yeah, you may live in an area where you don't have to deal with that as a problem. Demographics change all the fucking time. And what you don't want to be is the guy left assed out because you thought you were safe. And so you were advocating that everybody be punished and not, when that aren't safe, and not be able to own weapons legally. Bullshit term. Until it lands on your doorstep. And now you're forced to have to deal with the reality. And now you're scrambling trying to get a gun. The same thing that you tried to prevent ending up in the hands of regular citizens that could not pay for private security. You just watched a clip from my podcast, For Cannon's Sake. Catch us live at 12 p.m. throughout the week over at youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and follow us over at odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. If you want to watch the entire video cast after the show is over, just be sure to become a member on the YouTube channel. Of course, the full audio portion of the podcast is available for free on all major digital platforms, or just visit forcannonsake.com.